What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Phaithful Phanatics Show. As always, I am your host, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98. And back in the co-host slot today is my faithful co-host, as always, Matt McGinty. Give him a follow on Twitter at Matt_McGinty. And we are trying to do something major this year in 2022. So, if you're new to DSM Media and the channel, head on over on Twitter to at DSM_media. You can find our link tree in our bios. We are on every single social media platform imaginable, streaming to you guys live through DSM Media's Facebook and YouTube page at the moment. So if you want to be interactive on today's show, if you want to be involved, head on over to DSM Media's Facebook or YouTube and hit up the comment section there, and we will get to as many as possible. We are also streaming to you guys live through my personal Twitter account because Twitter still wants to give us issues on the DSM side of things. Again, feels like it's been a while, bud. How you been?
It has been a while. I feel like I've been on Turf Talk a couple times, but I feel like I haven't been on here in a little bit. Kind of slowly getting back into it. Birds clinched a playoff spot this weekend. Holidays we're just around the corner, but we're ready to hit the new year. Like you said, do something major 2022, right? So we'll start with a playoff game in the next coming weeks.
I can't ever believe it. I need to go back. I don't even remember what month, what week, what day the show was when me and you were laughing at the fact of, if the Eagles just win these next two games, this is probably in like beginning of November, late October, they could be in the playoffs, and we're cracking up at the thought of it. And now here we are with a week left, and they've already clinched this playoff spot. I did a lot of talking about it yesterday. Obviously, I'll give my opinions some more throughout the show, but I want to pick your brain about it first. Again, this is where I'll lead it first before we break down the Washington game anymore. I just want to talk about the accomplishment of them making the playoffs, the accomplishment of the Eagles having a winning record this season, already at that 9-win mark with a chance to win double-digit games. They could be 10-7 if they take down the Cowboys on Saturday night. And my thing is, I said this yesterday, and I'll keep repeating it, and going back to this throughout the week. I wasn't on board early this season. I talked to you damn near every day. I don't think you were on board early this season. The coach wouldn't run the ball more than 5 times a game. The quarterback was stuck on one read and didn't look like he had the arm, in my opinion. The defense was giving up record-breaking numbers and completion percentages to opposing quarterbacks and teams, and that all led to a 2-5 start for the Eagles. They've never made the playoffs starting a season 2-5 in franchise history. And then after that, something along the line clicked for this play caller. Something along the line clicked for this quarterback. Now, the strength of schedule obviously got a lot more in the Eagles' favor, and we'll talk about that as well. But they go on to win 7 of their next 9 games. They've proven me wrong. They've proven a lot of people wrong in this city and nationally. And in a season where they have a rookie head coach, essentially a rookie quarterback, a first-time defensive coordinator, the largest dead cap hit in NFL history, not the best roster construction. They battled injuries, COVID, everything. They have a winning record, and they've already clinched the playoff spot. So I have to give kudos to this coaching staff, to Nick Sirianni, to Jalen Hurts for proving me wrong, because what they've accomplished so far is a flat-out win regardless of what happens in the first round of the playoffs. This team has 3 first-round draft picks upcoming this season. They have cap space relief on the way, and they are right now ahead of schedule, hopefully, knock on wood. But I just want to get your thoughts on what it means for how you're feeling that about the fact that this team's in the postseason.
You hit it on the nose with giving praise to the right people. Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, even Howie Roseman a little bit with the offseason pickups. But a year ago at this time, you and I were doing the show, and we're talking about how rough it was going to be for the next calendar year. And I sat here and predicted 4 wins in the beginning of the season, even after I saw the schedule, maybe even 5 wins, but it wasn't going to be a good record. And they're way ahead of schedule. So many people stepped up in so many different ways. There's still obviously holes, and there's going to be holes. And like you mentioned, the strength schedule wasn't the finest tune, which is something I'll definitely bring up a little bit. But to get a playoff game for Jalen Hurts is huge. To get a playoff game for Devonta Smith is huge. To get all these young guys into that kind of environment, no matter who we're going to play, whether it's Tom Brady, whether it's Matt Stafford, you're going to go up against a heavy hitter. But all the praise goes to these guys. They grinded 2-5 in the beginning of the year, and you and I were sitting here saying, "Pack it." I mean, I'll say myself, pack it up. It's
stick a fork in them, bro. Like
get the Russell Wilson trade machines going. Get a new head coach in here. The defensive coordinator's got to go. But I was wrong, and I have no problem saying that. But does that mean I think these guys are going to be around for the longest time? Maybe not. But for now, just enjoy a playoff game, and it's awesome to see for sure.
They've all definitely earned the right, and especially the quarterback has earned the right to be here in 2022. Somewhere, I was not at this, thought process 7 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. I didn't think he should be the guy next year. He didn't show me. He showed me glimpses, but way too inconsistent, and the arm just wasn't there. And again, I'm happy to be proven wrong in this situation. But to your point, like getting these guys playoff reps, playoff experience this early in their career is huge. Like regardless of what happens, we have tempered expectations. Come game day, whether they play Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, whether they're playing, our most hated rival in all of sports in the Dallas Cowboys on the road, like, are we going to be fired up, or are we going to be thinking in the back of our minds maybe a little bit that the Eagles, could win this game? Sure, that's the fan in us. But I think we know as of right now what the outcome we're expecting is. But you don't think that would be good for Jalen Hurts to get his ass kicked by Tom Brady and the Bucs in his rookie year? You don't think that would be good for Nick Sirianni to learn from, like, different points of their career, different stages? But we had to watch Joel Embiid cry walking down a tunnel in a Game 7 loss to elevate his game to where he is today. You take it on the chin, even if they get their asses kicked. This is valuable experience for this young crew. But yeah, listen, man, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, I'm not going to beat around the bush. The strength of schedule changed drastically after that Bucs game. And I know they got their asses kicked by the Raiders, and I know they lost to the Chargers at home. How they dropped one to the Giants, they shouldn't have. But when you play the likes of Trevor Siemian and Jared Goff and Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm and Bradley Gilbert and, whoever else they played. Garrett Gilbert, sorry. Wins seem to become a little bit easier, but they are division rivals. You only play who's in front of you. And the Eagles did a damn good job of being up and ready. And no matter who you play in this league, winning 7 of 9 games is a great feat at any point in the season against any opponent. So again, I'm not going to take too much away from them from that point of view. I can't believe we're here. Like I can't. You said 4 or 5 wins before the year. I go back and I found the tape with me and Scotty in August, and I said 9. And this isn't I was right, I told you so, because I go back and I didn't even believe the number coming out of my mouth. I was just looking at the schedule saying, oh, well, the fan of me, they could beat the Broncos. They're going to beat the Jets. They're going to beat the Lions. And I just went down the list. I totaled a tally of 9. But in the back of my head, and same with Scotty, I think, neither one of us expected this team to have a winning record this year. Neither one of us expected this team to lock up a playoff spot with an entire week left. Again, something I keep going back to, I know that the Cowboys and the Cardinals have beaten teams that the Eagles, haven't beaten this year. The Eagles have only beaten one team with a winning record, I believe, this season. But when you just take the record numbers for what they are, the Eagles have a chance to finish this season 1 game behind the Dallas Cowboys, possibly 1 or 2 games behind the Arizona Cardinals, who started the year 8-0. That's incredible to me. How we ended up here, I have no idea, but it's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah, and to the point of the strength schedule, you can't knock them for it, like you mentioned. You can only play in front of you now. The quarterbacks we faced, like you named, Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm and Garrett Gilbert. Who knows the result otherwise, but every team's dealt with it. I don't know if there's been a team that hasn't had to do something strenuous in terms of guys missing games. So do I think – I don't really know how to word this. What I'll say is the Eagles are not a bad team, which I thought they would be. I thought they were going to be a bad team. I didn't think they could beat bad teams, which is why I said they only have 5 wins, but they're not a bad team. Eagles haven't beat a team that are going to make the playoffs this year, which is – kind of not the best stat to have, but again, you play who's in front of you. They dropped games in the early in the season to Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, guys with pedigree and guys that are above the best in the NFL. So, sorry. Oh,
No, Scotty's comment. No, it's the
no,
right.
that's what I was
No,
reading, and it's just like I mentioned. I thought they were going to be a bad team, so I didn't think they could beat
yeah. Well,
bad
real quick,
teams.
I want to come back to Scotty's comment, but George, this is what I was just about to say. This is what makes the playoffs so intriguing to me this year, is because we don't know what they are, right? They're not a bad team. I think we know that. We know that they're not a bad team, because even bad teams, I know they dropped one to the Giants the first time around, but bad teams don't win 7 of 9 against all the other bad teams on their schedule, right? Bad teams aren't the number one rushing offense in the National Football League, right? But we don't know where above that scale they come in at, right? Because their defense, first half it's looked sloppy, but they've tightened every screw up in the second half over the last month or so, and have looked like a really good unit, right, in the second half of games. But when they played average to above average quarterbacks, they've given up record-breaking completion percentages and have gotten their asses kicked. I don't know what defense is going to come out there. If they have to play Tom Brady, if they have to play the Dallas Cowboys, if they have to play, I know he's struggling right now. If they have to play Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp in that offense in LA, I don't know what you're going to see. Are we going to hope and pray that we get, the Eagles of the second half of last week against Washington? Or are we going to get the Derek Carr, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes Eagles secondary? That's what's intriguing to me. Are the Eagles going to be able to run the football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay like they have for the last 2 months of the season? It's intriguing because we have none of those answers. We have none of those questions answered at the moment.
And what's intriguing is we're not going to find out the answer, considering a lot of these guys probably aren't going to play this week. So we're going to go into a playoff game with no clue. But the point, kind of all end all be all, is you're right. They aren't a bad team. Now, we're going to find out if they're a good team. These kids are going to go into this playoff game. I shouldn't say kids. There's a lot of vets, but they're going to go into this playoff game with nothing to lose. Going up against the Rams, going 100%. Up against the Buccaneers, going up against the Cowboys. So who knows? Maybe they stick around. Maybe they have a chance to win at the end of the game. And if they don't, like you mentioned, if they get smoked, you lost to the guy that's been smoking everyone for 20 years at this point. So how much can you dock them? So this is a really good experience for these guys. And that's why I think it's such a good feeling for everyone, fans. Because, again, we at this time last year, we were all miserable. We were all talking about the Sixers. We thought 2022 was going to be an absolute mess for the Eagles. And
2021.
Sorry, 2021, 2022. It's calendar yet, but you know what I meant.
Well, it's so funny that you say that, because it's a lot easier in the summertime to try to, when you haven't watched football in 5-6 months, just sit here and be like, you know what? I can handle a horrible season if it means these 3 draft picks, or you know what I mean? This season started so rough. I don't know if any of us stuck to that, mantra. If anyone stuck to our guns there, we were all freaking out, fire the head coach. And mind you, at the point of the lowest point of the season, we're getting, watering your roots and flowers speeches. So everyone,
right?
Yes, everyone was really quick, and including myself, to be out then. But let's get into Sunday's game against Washington and Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and everything, because one thing that was evident again for another week in a row was a slow start. Now, it was a little bit different than the previous slow starts. It wasn't so much the offense. It was the fact that the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed for the first 3 possessions, or the first 3 or 4 possessions for Washington, right? You mentioned the playoffs about, what if they get smoked, right? And how they had nothing to lose. I don't want to say the word dangerous. Dangerous isn't like, or scared. Like, Tampa Bay is not scared to play the Eagles. The Cowboys, the Rams, the Cardinals, they're not scared to play the Eagles, right? But it makes them a little bit dangerous, because a young team that's not supposed to be here, that has nothing to lose, that's kind of hot at the moment, that can do little things like run the ball down your throat. That's a dangerous team in an aspect, just for 1 week possibly. But you walk into LA versus the Rams, maybe you turn that stadium into a home game. LA went all in this year, right, Gint? OBJ, Von Miller, Matt Stafford, they've gone all in for a Super Bowl this year. Now this Eagles team, who wasn't supposed to be here, that was supposed to win 5 or 6 games, shows up at your doorstep, and they start running the ball down your throat early. they become a little bit dangerous. But yes, in Sunday's ball game, the Eagles started out slow again. They got down to a 10-0 deficit very early. And the thing that stuck out to me again is every week we continue to evaluate Jalen Hurts in the biggest game of his career to this point, right? Which this Washington game was. And did anything on the page in the box score, pop out at you? No, it definitely didn't. But to me, this was his best game as a passer in his entire career. Like the Denver game's definitely an argument. This to me was his most efficient, most accurate down the field, most impressive in terms of, navigating the pocket under pressure, but keeping your eyes down the field and making plays through the air with your arm. He did it multiple times to Dallas Goedert, to Greg Ward, to Devontae Smith, to Jalen Reagor one time for a PI call. He was very effective down the field and making and extending plays with his arm. And he made enough plays in the beginning of this game to keep drives alive on third down, on third and long situations. The play at the end of the game that I referenced yesterday where, no one's talking about it, but when he gets his foot stepped on, backpedaling on 4th and goal and is falling to his ass and still gets the flip off to Boston Scott for a touchdown. Again, if they don't score on that play, we're probably sitting here talking about an Eagles loss and how they have to win on Saturday night, possibly win to get in. Because at that point in the game, I forget what the score was, but they were trailing, and it would have been their second their second drive stalled on 4th down. That would have been a huge momentum killer. He makes a play falling to his ass in stride to Boston Scott to get in the end zone. It was huge. So, yes, to me, I'll throw it to you here. This was his best game as a passer in the National Football League thus far.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you in any way. He was able to spread out the ball, like you mentioned, threw a couple balls down the field and just open the field, which is very, very important going into what is going to be a playoff game against a heavy hitter, like we had mentioned. Can't be one-dimensional. And we talked about every single week we did the show, we talked about just getting better, seeing improvements, because we didn't think much of this season, but now here we are on the doorstep of a playoff game, and he's improved in I don't want to say rapid pace, but 16 weeks into the season, he has made strides we did not think we were going to see. And he's hitting his guys who need to be his guys. I know Scotty tweeted something about how Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert need to be his Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and he's so right. It's just get the ball in these guys' hands, let them make plays, make your life easier, Jalen Hurts. Don't wing a ball 54 yards down the field to Jalen Reagor that's going to hit him in the back of the head and a mess from there. But he has stepped up to the occasion, and we talk about how it's been his biggest game. This week won't be his biggest game if he even suits up, obviously. But the week after that, the kid's going to get a playoff game. So we're going to see how much more of a stride he can take. He's going to play one of the NFL's best. And who knows, man? Like you just mentioned on that speech, it's dangerous to see a team that has nothing to lose at this time of the year with a bunch of hungry kids that come into the offseason. Me and you were like, kind of like this little new regime thing. Yeah. And it kind of went downhill. Now it's back uphill. So it's dangerous. You don't want to see those kind of teams. You don't want to have those teams stick around. And who knows, man? Who knows, to say the least.
One thing I can say about the kid in these last 3 or so games is, again, I know the level of competition. But again, you play who's in front of you. They're division rivals. You have to basically, at that point of the season, when he came back from injury, it was kind of the Eagles need to at least win 3 or 4, if not win out. He's won 3 in a row. He's gotten better each week. He's looked better each week through the air with his arm, which was my biggest question mark. Can Jalen Hurts? I said that to you at that time, I think. I said it to you and Scotty. This is playoff atmosphere, right? You have to continue to pull wins together. You're not going to be able to do that as a running quarterback. I've never believed in that style. He's made strides through the air with his arm, something that I didn't foresee happening. And to his credit, he's looked better and stronger and more confident as the window has closed. Like as the bigger moment comes up, as a bigger situation comes up, he seems to thrive in it a little bit. And I don't want to get ahead of myself because hopefully he doesn't shrivel up in a playoff game, but it just seems like he can put that on his shoulders and he can take that kind of pressure.
Yeah, we'd be hypocritical to not really talk about how awesome he's been because
because it was something that I laughed off before, and now,
it would be what we always mentioned with Carson Wentz was the last 3 weeks of the season, he was able to put a team on his back. Now, I think Jalen Hurts is getting a lot of help from the defense, and the defense has been awesome, especially the second half last week. But
Right.
we would be hypocritical to not say this kid needed to win 4 games down the stretch, and, well, he won 3 of them, but you know what I mean. He's been awesome down the stretch. It's every week we're sitting here saying this was his best game, this was his best game, this was an improvement, this was an improvement. So the Washington game, like you mentioned earlier, from the eye test, was his best game of the season.
Just strictly just making throws down the field that I haven't seen him make before. It was just, there were multiple times I watched the game over at my uncle's house. Multiple times we just kind of looked at each other like, wow. And like there was even the one run on, I believe it was 3rd down, when he kind of just sidestepped a linebacker, bro, and took off for about 15 yards. There was the flip falling to his ass. There was multiple plays where what I will say is the kid definitely likes the right side of the field. Hopefully no one can take that away from him, because when he navigates the pocket, he is strictly moving to his right, which you can't blame him. He's a right-handed quarterback. You don't want to be, constantly rolling out to your left, throwing across your body. But hopefully that's something that he's still able to do come postseason time and play to his strengths there. I want to switch to the other side of the ball, though, for a second. I can't figure it out. I can't figure out how they, in one half, make Taylor Heineke look like Dan Marino, and then come out in the second half and completely and utterly shut this team down. Because what happened in Washington defensively is like the last thing you wanted to happen, right? You wanted to take this team who had just lost to you a few weeks ago, got 56 chopped on their heads in Dallas. Their playoff hopes are shriveled down to this. You wanted to come in there. There's more green in that stadium than their own fan base. You wanted to come in there, take their hearts quick, and don't let them think or hope for a second that they can win that ball game take that ball game from you. What do? You let Taylor Heineke start the game 11 of 13 for like $180 and get a 10-0 lead. It was the last thing you could have done. But then somehow, some way, they come back out in the second half. And it's a completely different unit. I don't know. Like, I know he seems to bring a little bit more pressure in the second half, but he doesn't just dial it up all of a sudden in the second half. I don't know if the defensive line seems to just have something click and they're able to establish themselves more in the second half. I don't know if the secondary is just a little more tightened up in the second half. I don't know what it is, if there's more man than zone, because so many times in the first half did Terry McLaurin have Alex Singleton or TJ Edwards, trying to keep up with him over the middle because they're dropped back in this soft-ass zone coverage. And, he's wide open for 17 yards. So I don't know what the hell clicks, but I promise you, the Eagles need second half Eagles defense in a playoff game, not first half, because you get that, you're getting buried in the first quarter versus a good team.
Versus a good quarterback, definitely.
Yeah.
And the quarterbacks you're reading that we're going to get matched up against, Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, you're going to get carved up, and it's not going to be 1 touchdown in the first half. It's going to be 3 or 4. And you're going to be a deficit that no team's going to overcome against those kind of teams, unless you're the Buffalo Bills playing the Buccaneers. But We're not the Buffalo Bills. So
we're not.
You're right, though. The pressure seems to really dial in. It really dialed in the second half, and I think that kind of covers up some of the flaws we have. The linebacking play, even though TJ Edwards and Alex Singleton, I'm pretty sure, combined for like 21 tackles.
That's because they're always behind somebody.
But yeah, the defense flipped a switch would be the term, I guess. But
yes,
we talked about in the beginning of the year again, Jonathan Gannon's refusal to make adjustments, and something had to be adjusted because you go from.
He's done it for weeks now, though, man.
Yeah, would they give up 81 total yards in the second half? Maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
And I think it was 77 passing yards. So you're throttling their defense, their offense, I should say.
I mean, go back to the game Hurts missed in New York against the Jets. The special teams and defense got shredded in the first quarter and a half. And then I think they didn't give up on the point for the rest of the game. My whole thing is this team needs to be able to put together a full 60-minute performance.
It's almost like the defensive line finally looks at each other like, all right, let's get to this
Yeah,
guy.
let's kick it into gear
that needs
now.
to be done in the first 2 minutes of the game.
Yep.
Because you're not going to be playing Taylor Heineke. You're not going to be playing
Jake Fromm,
Zach Wilson, Jake Fromm, Garrett Gilbert. It's going to be the names we've mentioned a couple times so far. So defense has to come out right away. But dude, I know I've mentioned him a couple times this season, but Avonte Maddox has been probably one of my favorite players in the Eagles this year. He has been awesome at the position that we all thought he'd be.
I agree. So. I wasn't very kind to Avonte Maddox in seasons past. Probably wouldn't have liked me very much. I DoorDashed to him actually one time. Didn't know it was him until he got to the door. I was like, holy shit, you're Avonte Maddox. If he would have known who I was and how I critiqued his play at times, he probably would have knocked me the F out on his front porch. But he's been spectacular this year. Like, he literally had a drive that was centralized around him. Like, he gets the weak-ass PI call, and then literally following that up, he gets, like, tackle short of the sticks, pass break up, Eagles ball, turnover on downs. Like, he's been fantastic. It's something that, listen, I don't think any of us, any Eagles fans that still believed in Avonte Maddox or knew what he was good at, envisioned him being, this pretty damn good this year. But he is back in the slot where any single, slightly intelligent Eagles fan that knew a little bit about the game was screaming that he needed to be in the past 2 seasons. And he wasn't able to do that with the rest of the personnel. He's back there and he's thriving. He's got Darius Slay to his one side. Steven Nelson on the other side hasn't been, this great signing, this ball hawk or anything that we, not hoped for, but, could have hoped for. But he hasn't been a detractor opposite of Darius Slay. He's been fine. Rodney McLeod's made 2 big plays at the end of games the last 2 weeks. The defensive line, when they decide to turn it up, looks fine. Like, Javon Hargrave had a ridiculous start to the year. Josh Sweat gets a sack and a half last game. Fletcher Cox has shown flashes over the last month. Milton Williams has been fine. That's like what frustrates me, man. Like, when we think like, okay, we know Gannon's not good, but at times he looks really good, but he probably doesn't have the personnel. But then I just list all this personnel and it's like, okay, well, I know there's still holes defensively. I know the linebacker play is not good. I know Ant Harris and the safety position struggled for a decent amount this year. And I know the line doesn't get as much pressure as we would hope for. But there's a lot of decent names on this defense. So it really bothers me when I think, like, okay, is it personnel? Is it Gannon? Is it personnel? Is it Gannon? And we don't have an answer to that yet. The fact that his name's being thrown in the ring for head coaching jobs, there's no way that's true. Not a chance.
There's no way he gets hired. There's no shot.
No. Howie or Jeffrey, leaked that just to try to get people to grab at it and be like, oh, are other people interested? Because there's no way another team in this league looks at him and goes, you know what? I really liked that 86% completion percentage he gave up to Justin Herbert early in the year.
I was going to say the stat of like Mahomes, Herbert, Carr, Brady, and someone else's.
And Dak.
Yeah, it's like over 80%. If you're any GM, you're not like, oh, he can play against NFL's best.
He could figure that out. All right, man, let's move on. Obviously, very, very excited that the Eagles, even if I don't see me right now, very excited that the Eagles are going to have a chance to compete in the dance. But they do have one more week remaining. Kind of. So again, let me get your thoughts on this. Obviously, now with all the COVID, reports that over a dozen Eagles players were put on the COVID list yesterday, I think it makes the conversation a little easier to have. The decision making is a little easier here. Would you play them or no? If so, for how long do you play? Maybe you don't play Hurts and some of those guys, but do you play some of the starters?
I don't think so. I was looking at this chart of the scenarios we'd need to play people, and I wish we were flexed this Sunday night so everything could play out. We could kind of see what we needed to happen. But us being Saturday night, I'd probably just sit everyone down. Just no matter who you get in this first round, you're getting elitists. Like, you're getting Matt Stafford, you're getting Tom Brady, you're getting Dak. I'm pretty sure it's one of those 3 teams. So
the Cardinals are thrown in there too.
Yeah, then I would sit them down for the week. The only thing I would say is I wonder if they want these guys out for what? It would be close to 14 days at that point without playing a game. Guys off COVID who aren't allowed to practice, you want them to get their win back by maybe throwing them in for a quarter or something like that. Almost treat it like a preseason game, but I don't know, man. I would say
it's so tricky because they could get hurt in the first quarter, right? But to your point, they have been a really hot team over the last 8 or 9 weeks. Do you want that to kind of cool off for 2 whole weeks before a playoff game? It's definitely an interesting conversation. I would sit them. I'd prefer to be 100% or as close to 100% heading into that uphill battle on the road than, just a few more reps. George put out a great tweet the other day saying, like, when I think Phil had asked the question, would you sit him? And he's like, and people were arguing, oh, well, the slow starts. Like, you want them to figure that out. So George said, listen, man, like, they haven't figured out in the last 6 weeks how to adjust from the slow starts. They're not going to put it together Saturday night and be like, oh, we got it. Like, get healthy.
They'll put it together against Dallas backups, and they'll
and we'll think we're all good. We'll think we're set, and they figured everything out for the postseason. But get healthy. Rest that ankle up for Jalen Hurts. Don't allow anyone that you need to possibly get injured. Like, could you imagine if Devontae Smith tweaked his ankle Saturday night and now he can't play in the first round? Like, there's no way I'm risking that. Sit him down and start your game plan, brother. Like, I know you got to focus on Dallas.
You don't.
No. Like, behind closed doors, my game plan's already started. I'm watching film on any of those 4 teams.
The NFL is so weird right now. Usually a lot more is figured out to this point. Like, Green Bay, I'm pretty sure, is the only team in the NFL that's
locked into a season.
Like, into one spot. And they don't have an opponent because no one knows how the rest of the season's going to fall out. So it's interesting. I wonder who Dallas is going to play. Is Dallas going to roll out Dak, roll out Zeke? So I don't know.
I don't know either.
There's too much uncertainty.
I think if I'm Dallas, the fact that you did get flexed to the Saturday night position where you can't see anything else play out before you play. If I'm Dallas, I'm playing to win because you can slide from anywhere from the 2 to the 4 seed. Now, maybe that doesn't sound like anything crazy to you, but you don't play to win. What if you line up in that 4 seed to play the Rams or the Cardinals in the first round? Rather than
the team you just lost to last week.
Right. Rather than playing, the Eagles in the first round or possibly San Fran with a beat up Jimmy Garoppolo right now. Like, if anything, like, you gotta want to stay away from the 4 seed. Not to mention, depending where you fall, if you're a 2 seed, that's an extra. If you win the first round, that's what? That's an extra home game.
You don't have to go to Tom Brady.
Right. Yes, exactly. So if I'm Dallas, I would fully be expecting Dallas to come out and try to put this one away early. But the Eagles, I wouldn't care simply because you're in that Saturday night spot again, like you said. Now, if San Fran somehow, if we played Sunday and San Fran lost before we played, and maybe you want to move up to the 6th seed, then I could see it. But at the way, like you said, if you're playing Saturday night, why am I going to throw my guys out there, for this game to possibly move up one spot, and then San Fran wins on Sunday, and we just risk that for nothing? You know what I mean? So I would stay away from it. I think Dallas is going to play their top guys. I don't think the Eagles will, nor should they.
Would you start Dallas guys in fantasy?
You still have fantasy going?
DSM leagues, 2-week championship.
Oh my God, I forgot.
I think I'm down like 14 to Jeremy after the first week.
I probably. Who do you have? Zeke?
I have Zeke and Tony Pollard.
You can't play both of them. Have you been playing both of them?
No, not at all. I have.
You're wondering who to play.
That's my thing. What if they go up 24-0 in the first quarter and Zeke doesn't score? Next thing you know, he has the same week he just had.
Yeah, that's tough, bro. I don't know.
I'm gonna text Jeremy and be like, "Yeah, we just have to split this pot. Like, this is way too tricky, dude."
Yeah, because Phil made it for 2 weeks by accident. All right, man. So, I think that's going to wrap up our Eagles portion of today's show. Eagles lock up a playoff spot with 1 week remaining. They take on the Dallas Cowboys at home at Lincoln Financial Field Saturday night at 8:15, 8:30. And we'll see what happens. I highly doubt they play their starters, but we shall see. Again, let's move on. Actually, no, I do have one more question for you before everything gets decided this weekend. Out of the 4 teams, which one would you rather the Eagles play round 1? The Cowboys, the Bucs, the Cardinals, or the Rams?
The Cardinals. Even though they just won this week, they've been in a bunch of disarray. I don't care that Stafford's been turning the ball over. I think he'd carve this.
I don't want the Rams, dude. I forget who answered. I think it might have been Scotty said he'd prefer the Rams. Possibly, I forget. I don't want that. Nah.
Actually, to be honest, I'd probably just prefer Dallas just for the storyline. Could you imagine, dude? If
the storyline, you know them best probably. Their offense has been struggling.
With one of the best 1-2 running back combos in the NFL. One of the best wide receiving, even though Michael Gallup's out for the year, one of the best wide receiving cores in the NFL. One of the best tight end cores in the NFL.
And a defense that's causing turnovers like an MF.
Most turnovers in the NFL. And Jalen Hurts comes into your house and beats you in a playoff game. Oh, the Dak Prescott conversations would be out of pocket, to say the least. But
let me ask you a question. This is very off topic. That's who I think I want as well. Obviously, Tampa Bay, there's a little bit of intrigue there because they are becoming more and more shorthanded with no Fournette, no Chris Godwin, now no Antonio Brown. But their defense is getting healthier. And if the Eagles can't get pressure against Tom Brady, forget it.
He could have me, you, Scotty, and Phil out there, and the defense is getting carved up. 7-yard pass, 7-yard pass, 7-yard pass, 7-yard pass.
Yeah, I'm good, bro. So I agree with you, but damn, I forget what I was just going to say. Oh, so you mentioned that storyline with Dak, right? Who's comeback player of the year?
Joe Burrow.
So it's between him and Dak have the best odds, and I just saw that Dak has the odds on Dak is the odds on favorite to win it right now, and it's just complete bullshit to me. Like no offense, like respect to Dak for coming back from that major injury, and maybe I just sound like a Cowboys hater or whatever, and it maybe a little bit of recency bias is in this because Burrow has been on fire the last 2 weeks, and Dak and the Cowboys are struggling the last few weeks on offense, but like. I really don't think it's that close.
I thought it should be Burrow. I thought Bosa should have decent odds. He doesn't, but I don't know how it's not Burrow. He just especially the last couple of weeks, especially what he just did last week.
They just won the AFC North, and they were probably predicted to finish last or in third place of the AFC North before the year.
Yeah, it's not.
And he has a piss poor offensive line. His defense isn't causing those turnovers like Dallas is. That was my thing. I know we're getting off track here. And again, maybe this is just Cowboys hate spewing out of me. But, bro, if you can't get it done this year, forget it, bro. Like, that. What more could you possibly need than what you have right now?
It's a lot. He has a lot. And that's why I'm saying, I'll tell you what, if Jalen Hurts goes into that house, there's going to be a lot of conversations Cowboys fans are not prepared for. That's probably of the opponents that.
Oh, you don't want to hear me that following week, bro.
That's what I'm. No. What I'm saying is that those 4 set opponents going into that week, that's the only one where I could really see myself being like, we can win this one. This one is in the cards because that's the type of game Dallas does not want, truthfully.
Hell yeah. All right, let's get on to the 76ers portion of today's show. Not too much to dive into with them. Obviously, whenever you play the shorthanded Houston Rockets, there's not much to take away from the game again. But in a 133-113 victory without Matisse Thybulle and Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid notches up his 3rd career triple-double. So Joel Embiid is our winner of the Do Something Major award last night. 31 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists to propel the Sixers to their 4th straight win over the Houston Rockets. Again, it's hard. Like, it's such a bland question to ask. But let me phrase it this way. Do we not appreciate enough of what we're seeing with this dude?
Yeah, I don't think we do. He's doing everything. He's, as you can see, being a facilitator. Well, couldn't get that one out. He's obviously one of the best in rebounding the ball in the NBA. He's a number 1 scoring option. He's one of the best rim protectors in the entire NBA. He is leading these guys. He's getting guys shots that you shouldn't be getting with the personnel that we have because he's drawing so much attention. He's only getting better at making reads out of a double team. He's getting to spot so much quicker than he was in the beginning of the season when he was struggling with 23 and 10 in the beginning of the year. So we don't appreciate him enough because this team without Joel Embiid, I'm pretty sure his record is like 3-8. And with him, I don't know what it is, but it's definitely one of, I think we're like 19-8 with him. So he's been everything the Sixers need of him. He's getting back into the MVP conversation, in my opinion.
100%.
Obviously, you got Curry, Giannis, Jokic, Kevin Durant, but
I also saw Rudy Gobert is higher than him on that list.
That's a joke. The Sixers are literally nothing without Joel Embiid, and I'm not sure where we're even at in the seeding right now. But if you squeak up into a top 4 seed as constructed, and they don't end up making a move for Ben, and they stick to their guns, saying they're not selling the farm for him, whatever. If we're able to get a home playoff series, Joel Embiid should be a very, very, very high MVP candidate.
Absolutely. And not only did he do something major last night, notching up his 3rd career triple-double and a big-time win, he also did something major today, receiving the Eastern Conference Player of the Month. Right? Yeah, Eastern Conference Player of the Month. I was going back. I saw 2 different tweets. Eastern Conference Player of the Month. Over that time, he averaged 29.2 points per game, 11.2 boards, and 3.9 assists. Something that, stuck out to me last night. And obviously, our guy, Brock, check him out on Twitter, at LandisBrock, if you don't already. He's just constantly posting clips throughout the game and, seeing things that you don't see to the blind eye when watching a basketball game. And, he had one, or it was, I think it was Brock that posted it. He had one dribble drive game, and in one motion, picked up his dribble from his right hand and to a slashing Shake Milton, just gives him the feed for the clean bucket at the rim. 7-footers should not be able to do that. 7-footers should not be able to grab a defensive rebound, take it the length of the floor, and Euro past 2 defenders for a dunk or a layup. He does things I've never seen someone his size do before. And it's every night I see something else where it's oh my God.
Yeah, he is unbelievable. I know we're kind of harping at it, but he's the definition of, I'll just get it done myself then. He could have took a route this season of, Ben's not here. I don't know how good we're going to be. Load management. I'll see you next season type vibe, but it's nah. I'm on the court. I can be the most dominant player whenever I want to be. And he's, in these last couple games, been that. Obviously, the Brooklyn one sticks out. Yeah. Going at Kevin Durant was awesome.
I haven't been able to discuss that game with you yet. And it seems like an eternity ago now, so we're not going to, get too much into it. But what I was saying to Scotty is just what do our minds go to when we think of this Sixers team that, doesn't seem equipped enough to take down a Brooklyn Nets team that's number 1 in the East? And in a 7-game series, does that happen? Probably not. But when you see him take Kevin Durant, 34-point night, James Harden, 34-point triple-double, and it wasn't enough. I know Tyrese Maxey probably had his best game of his entire career that night, and the kid was clutch and hit 5 threes, and a few of them were down the stretch. The kid showed major stones that night. But Joel Embiid was the driving factor of that game, and he finally got help from someone else. And in those moments, you see his dominance, his greatness, and it's dude, Daryl, help, send help. We need reinforcements now because I'm not okay watching this dude dominate the way he does. Do you see those numbers? Watching that, I'm not okay with just chalking this season up because, we didn't have Ben and, we didn't make a move for Ben. I'm not okay with that. Again, when I say Daryl help, I don't mean Daryl make a move, any move now because we need anything. I mean, Daryl, please find a way to bring in something extremely valuable to pair next to this man. And let's roll this year because he's playing at a level. Again, if you take what he's done over the last few weeks, over this month, and you compare it to stretches of last year, does he not look even more dominant in this last month than he did last season?
That's what people get twisted because we're not as good as we were last year. He's looks the same, if not better, like you just mentioned. Probably better because of the amount of attention he's drawing, and the numbers are still right now.
And the points in the clutch. And
exactly. Oh yeah, the clutch points is absolutely a different conversation for something else. He's the closer, like he said. He said he was the closer, and he is the closer. I think it was like 30 more points in the clutch than the rest of the NBA or something. It's astronomical what he's able to do. And on top of all this, when we're talking about the points, the way he's still able to anchor the defense that's lacking a first team all defender, I guess the word would be, is slim to none. He's able to dominate the game like a very small list of people can.
It's incredible to watch each and every night. And you just have to hope, like I said, the reinforcements come soon.
I'll be more let down if they don't make a move this season for Ben than I was last year if they didn't get Kyle
Lowry. I feel the same way. I was talking to Scotty on Friday, and I had seen a tweet, and Scotty kind of said, like, yeah, man, like I could see it playing out where it come summertime, Ben's still on the roster. I'm not okay with that. Yeah. I can't accept that. Again, I'm not saying, okay, no one's willing to give you what you want, so just trade them for pennies on the dollar. But you need to bring in something valuable because, like I said, if you don't, you're ultimately just chalking up this season.
And Joel shouldn't be okay with it. I don't know.
No,
I don't know. Go ahead.
You cannot chalk that up.
Yeah.
And just say, oh, well, you know what? Ben wasn't here. We couldn't make any moves for Ben, so we'll see what happens next year.
Well, that's another thing is, all right, even if it's not a Ben move, you need to improve the roster. And I know we're going to jump into Tobias Harris.
Yeah, we'll get into that now.
How much are you weighing on other guys?
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't have to necessarily be Ben, but he needs help. And I don't know the communication between Joel and Daryl if he's going in there every day saying, so 31, 15, and 10 last night. What do you got for me here? Like, I need something, especially with the COVID protocols. Like, Isaiah Joe's getting a ton of minutes. Furk gets 24 and 11 last night. Like, the numbers are crazy. And don't get me wrong, guys are helping out, but he needs consistent help. And he's not getting that from many people right now.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's nice when George Niang can come off the bench and bang 4 threes for you one night. It's nice when Furkan and Isaiah Joe can give you 42 combined points on 8 combined made 3-pointers last night. You can get that against Garrison Matthews. Yeah, I'll throw a jab at Garrison Matthews, kid. And Daniel Tice last night. You're not going to get that against formidable opponents. Now, luckily, the Sixers have a stretch of games here where they can fully take advantage of their weekend schedule coming up. And they've already won a game. We were looking back on their next 10 games, and I think it started with the Washington game or the Toronto game that they ended up winning. And I thought they would lose to Brooklyn. They've already accomplished one more win than I thought they'd get. So if the Sixers can hopefully win, at that point would have been 8 of their next 10, 9 of their next 10. Now you can kind of get the ball rolling where you do force Daryl Morey to be a little more active. Not to mention we are in January. When's the trade deadline?
It's usually sometime in February?
Well, exactly. That was my point. In November, it was okay. Well, you got all this time. Time's a ticking.
Well, and here's my thing also, Dylan, is you make a move, you're looking to win. You're looking to win right now. And this move can't be like it was with Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson, where you all of a sudden need a whole new regime in the month of March, and you're 2 months away from the playoffs, you're 2 months away from the NBA Finals. It needs to be like again. I don't know how he hasn't walked in on the desk, put his numbers down, put the rest of the stats of the team, saying, "You got to give me something here, brother. This is terrible."
For real. But let's get into that other option, right? And let's not jump right into would you move Toby? Do you want to move Toby? What could you get for Toby? I just want to discuss what's been happening with Tobias Harris and this fan base. So obviously, Toby's been struggling. Fans and people on social media have been extremely critical. Fans in the stands have been extremely critical. And boos are fine. I get the boos. I'd be booing as well. I'm critical of Toby on the show at times. He hasn't been good enough. So last night, they're booing Toby again. Toby hits a bucket. They clap. he tells them don't effing clap. There was a moment a couple games ago where they were booing Toby. Toby got an N1, and Toby shushed the crowd when they cheered. He's clearly paying too much attention to the fan base. That's my problem. Now, no, should Sixers fans am I upset that he responded oh, boo me, he can't clap back at us? No, he can absolutely do so. But that tells me he's paying too much attention to it. And no offense, bro, when you shoot 3 of 12 on one of those 3 makes, don't tell me not to effing clap after you've just bricked nine shots. That's the one part that I have a beef with. But what's your thoughts on this whole back and forth game? Because it's getting to a point where it's I saw a tweet earlier saying it's almost becoming inevitable that he gets moved because the change of scenery is just going to be needed soon.
Yeah, I saw a tweet today. Sean Barnard, great follow on Twitter. Follow him on Twitter.
That's who it was. Yeah.
He tweeted he's approaching Al Horford. And It was a take. It was definitely a good take. Philly fans, you can't clap at Philly fans. They won't. They don't like it. And now, is that for the proportion up? But in my opinion, Tobias isn't. He's a competitor, so he's gonna get booed. He's gonna have a lot to say about it. And what's our thing, Dylan? Play better, and it won't happen. You won't get booed if you play better. Go drop 30. Go on your efficient 50, 40, 90, and it won't happen. Now, to get into what's really wrong, it's the looks aren't as good, I think, in my opinion. You're taking Ben out of the equation, and not that Ben predicates a lot of attention with how much he's able to get in the lane with his size, and maybe guys have to be smaller to guard Tobias Harris. Can't even get the words out because Ben's on the floor. I don't know, but the feud's going to continue because again he's a competitor, but play better. Go get 25 one night. The nights Embiid's out, he seems to be in the shadows. He's in the shadows of other guys, and you're a max player. When Embiid's out, go get 30.
That's my beef. The funny thing is, dude, there's a lot for me to unpack in this conversation because I do understand both sides, right? So first with the whole what's wrong with Tobias Harris's play this year compared to last year when he was arguably, in my mind, an all-star candidate, excuse me. Tobias Harris ultimately is not a number 2 on a championship contending team. He does miss Ben Simmons, as you said. And me and Scotty were having a talk the other day where, not only is he asked to do more defensively, because Ben's out and he's, kind of in that wing role because the Sixers backcourt is undersized, right? He's also gaining more attention from maybe from the opposing team's number 1 defender, right? Because you say what you want about Ben Simmons in the half court. He doesn't shoot. They can sag off him. No one cares about Ben Simmons in the half court. He does draw a shit ton of attention, like you said. And how do I know that, Gim? What was something we talked about each and every game last year? How the Sixers were able to take advantage of the Tobias Harris matchup because he had he was able to back down shorter wing defenders and backcourt players because he was getting the 3rd or 4th option from a defense, right? That's not the case this year, right? So the looks aren't there. He's struggling shooting wise. He's in his own head.
He's overthinking everything.
Right. And maybe he's not a number 2 to a Joel Embiid. Maybe, you know what I mean? I think he's a fine number 3 and number 4 mixed in with all this, but he's not a Robin to the Batman, right? That's the problem. Now, when you get into the fan thing, let me start with the fans' problem, right? So we can boo 100%. You can say what you want. You can speak your mind. You pay your hard money, your hard-earned money to go see him, right? Some people take it to an extreme. There should be no personal attacks. There should be no, crazy-ass DMs to Tobias Harris. I'm sure he gets those, and that probably plays a role into why he's so pissed off, right? B, here's the term I love, Gint. No one likes us. We don't care. You're damn wrong. You're damn right. You care, okay? Because you boo, he responds, you can't respond. You can't clap back. Yes, who cares? Who cares if he claps back at you? On the other side of things, you're 100% right, bro. Toby, if you want to like if the fans are saying crazy shit to you, if you're getting booze rained down on you when you're introed, when you're struggling, and then you go out and you want to get back at the fans for a night and you want to say something, go out, drop 25 to 30 efficiently, and then when the cheer, no, don't cheer for me tonight, just one time. But when you're 4 of 13, when you're 3 of 12, when you have 9 points on 17 shots, after you make one of those buckets, do not clap back. Like, that's not the time to clap back.
And that's my biggest thing is he's not going into the post game looking at his stats saying, I'm sorry, Philly fans, man, I was terrible tonight. Now, don't get me wrong. You say that, and then you go out and drop 30. You could say, "No, don't clap for me. I'm going to do it consistently. Then we can start the clapping because you're going to have stuff to say if I don't."
Yeah.
But again, it's a feud that doesn't even deserve discussion because I don't think if the camera didn't hit him at the right time, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion.
Right.
It just happened to catch him at the perfect time.
But it speaks to the point of overthinking.
Yeah,
you can 100%. See it in his play, and if you're paying that much attention to where you want to hear the fans and you want to chirp back mid-game when you're getting back on defense, you're paying too much attention to the noise, and it's clearly affecting your on-court performance.
Absolutely, and like you mentioned with the overthinking, it's especially for beyond the arc, down to 28%, I believe, and it's a head fake on a clean look head fake, one dribble, two dribble pull up, and it's highly contested as opposed to just shooting the ball. Like, just get out of the slump. You shot 40%. We know you did. And I don't get me wrong. I'm Ben's biggest advocate. He can't have this much of a purpose on Tobias Harris. He can't. I refuse to believe that. Tobias Harris was a 50, 40, 90 guy when we got him. And I think he can get back to that point at some point. Now, do we maybe need a little bit more help in here, maybe to get the attention elsewhere? Possibly. But the feud is so blown out. The Sixers fans need something to complain about because
100%. And Scotty,
Ben has a fiance now, so they can complain about that. So they complain about this. Next week it will be, I don't even know.
Next week, Joel Embiid will have a bad game, and they'll jump back on Joel Embiid's. But Scotty put out a short for us on DSM YouTube page. So if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. But it's basically just like Sixers fans, man, I get it. Like, is it a little bothersome? Like I said, like, Toby, don't tell me not to effing clap after you're shooting the way you are. However, like, the Sixers have just won 4 games in a row. And it's like, that's not good enough. You need 4 wins in a row, and you need Tobias Harris to drop 25 on efficient shooting at the same time for it to be okay for you. Like, I don't understand. Like, the Brooklyn game, he wasn't that good in the Brooklyn game. I think he only had 9 points. I could be wrong. But Maxey drops 25 with 5 threes. Joel does what he does. They beat KD and Harden in Brooklyn. And here you are on social media after the game. Tobias sucks. I'll drive Tobias to the airport. Why is that your center? Why is that where your focus goes to? Right?
And
so
I think it really will be shadowed if one night Embiid's out and he does what Ben was able to do in a lot of instances. I know
that's the problem, right? That's what I've said. Is Tobias Harris a max player? No, it's not his fault he got offered the contract. Is Tobias Harris number 2? No, it's not his fault that a defensive player of the year and an all-star is just not playing for his team, right? However, in situations where Joel Embiid's not on the floor, and again, I don't mean this like when Joel Embiid's not on the floor and they have to play the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm not kidding myself saying Tobias Harris needs to take over and beat the Milwaukee Bucks. But when Joel Embiid's not on the floor and you play the Memphis Grizzlies earlier in the year, when Joel Embiid's on the floor and you play the Sacramento Kings earlier in the year, you can't struggle then, bro. Like, that's where my frustration lies. Like,
that's where you can't have
You can't have 12 points in a loss to the Kings when Joel Embiid's not on the floor and you're a max player.
You need to go get 25.
Exactly. And that's my only complaint when
the monetary thing is obviously part of it, but it's just like who you need to be for this team to succeed. You got to take yourself
for one night against a lesser talented team.
Yeah, and especially with we want to be able to sit Joel. Joel shouldn't have to play 42 minutes on December 6th against the Charlotte Hornets. That's who it was, and have to score 41
in overtime.
Be a thing. he should be able to play 25 minutes one night. You take the reins and get 20 in the first half, and we can sit guys down, or we can sit Joel when we're in Sacramento, and you can score 30 and we can win a game. But
100%.
it hasn't been there yet. We'll see. Maybe he turns it around. Maybe he does the Ben thing. He turns up 2 weeks before the All-Star break.
Maybe that's it. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this Tuesday edition of the Phaithful Phanatics Show. We will not be back with you tomorrow. However, announcement, and I'll probably clip this and put this out for everyone who's not still tuning in an hour later. Tyrone Johnson from Sixers Outsiders and 97.5 The Fanatic will be joining us here on the Phaithful Phanatics Show on DSM Media Thursday night at 7 p.m. to talk about the wrap up to the Eagles season, their playoff expectations, and what's going on with Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and the 76ers team. So check out, be on the lookout at DSM_media for any news there. We will also be doing some giveaways in the coming days to celebrate the Eagles playoff berth. So stay on the lookout for that on all of our social media platforms. Obviously, like I said, you can find me on Twitter at JD98. You find my faithful co-host on Twitter as well at Matt_McGinty. Guys, check us out on YouTube and on TikTok as well. I tweeted out earlier, if we can reach 1,000 followers on TikTok by February 7th, which is my birthday, I will get DSM tatted on me somewhere. So if you want to see it, me get DSM tatted on my body, something stupid, then follow us on TikTok. Sound good? All right. For myself, for Gint, for everybody at DSM Media, have a great night.